Alright, so this is my take on the Linus Tech Tips and Gamers Nexus reaction. So, first and foremost, this is me waking up and only been awake for a little while. Alright, so take that for what you will. But, I watched a couple videos about it, and uh, truthfully, I wanted to process because I saw it yesterday, and then I saw the reaction from Gamers Nexus about Linus's, which I never saw Linus's response, but I assumed that he'd put out a video instead of like a whole bunch of forum posts and so on. So I just did a whole hell of a lot of processing before I recorded this, like solidly an hour long of talking before I even said any of this and recorded it, and this is going to go on YouTube. So, um, prefacing and priming out of the way, because apparently it's priming instead of like setting up the uh, situation as it is. And this is, I'm a regular random kind of person. It's not like I'm like, as big as them. So on the surface level here, Linus responding like that sounds an awful lot like doubling down that we constantly see as a reaction, and tripling down as a reaction from companies. And I'm going to get to why it's not later. But it kind of is. So you have to wait. First and foremost, I'm on Steve's side. I'm on Gamers Nexus side. Okay? Like, I am on his side. He is correct. I have seen multiple instances of this being a thing, and in terms of the corrections that they don't do, in terms of the wildly off deltas and frame rates, and for what it's worth, for me, it turned into, okay, well, maybe there's an entirely different way they do, because I haven't been like super in the know on all the things graphics cards and CPU wise for a long time, like 3-4 years, right? But it's like maybe they changed the way that, because they're $1,000 now, they have to somehow sell this. It's like back in the day, it used to be like 680, 670, 660, or 780, that kind of thing, right? And it's like, well, the 3090 is the equivalent, I suppose, of the old 660 to the 680. Like, it's like basically not even what it really could be. You know what I mean? And they need to sell this sucker as $1,000. Like, it's the top of the line, somehow. And it's like, so they're gonna give you the actual, you know, GPU, and that's why it's so. But it's like, but this is different. What's this over here? You know what I mean? So it's like, it's not like I don't see the discrepancy, right? And I go, well, maybe I just don't know something, maybe whatever, right? And it's not just that though, because I've had other problems with that graph, with those graphs, because it's like, oh, also there's a huge temperature delta swing that he talks about, and I'm like, yeah, I've seen that before. For what it's worth, I don't have like money coming in or the ability to really buy, computer parts anymore. As a result, I'm not really in the market, so I don't really look at it much. But it's like, yeah, no, okay, that's insanely different. There's no way, like, there's so much there that's just intensely impossible. It's the equivalent of having there's AC on and then this doesn't have AC on. Like that level of something of a difference, right? And then the same thing for the consistency, the corrections. Like, no offense to David, I'm sure he's getting blacklisted with little clicks already forming in the company and all of this other stuff, which I'll get to, because the basic preface of it is, while Linus is public facing part of the company is going to take a lot of shit, he is not the one that manages and watches over all things. There are already people that knew from those emails that did or did not stress and enforce this information of this company, this startup company, saying that, and we said that we're going to return this to them, and they expected that. Okay? And regardless of which, if there was an employee that did this, that tried to prevent this thing by setting it off to the side and having a talk, if that did happen, it means there's a mismanagement going on, which is taking advantage of the situation, and it's go, 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 just like Gamers Nexus is saying, where it says, ooh, we've got to get this done, but also we said that we would be auctioning this off. It's on our stuff, and we are so cool and good and whatever. Which it's not, but it's like the anxiety and stress of going to the crowd and saying, hey, so we made a slight mistake here. We're not selling that. No, that has to go back. Yeah, sorry, guys. Well, you don't have to get that. We're not taking your money, none of that. No worries. We're just not going to do it. You know what I mean? But as a person that understands that person really doesn't have any power in that situation, and it doesn't matter that they might have stood up for that, because the other side was they control this, they had to leave, they're gonna probably get placed somewhere else and out of the way, and it then got sold, or well, not sold, auctioned, which is semantics at that point. It's like, what? You know, it's like, what? That's a response? Like, it wasn't sold, guys. What? But you have to remember, on the Linus side, it's like, he built it from the scratch, you know, because we're, you know, anyways, it's a little language thing. Anyways, he built it up from nothing, right, from scratch. And he's taken risks and had to spin PR-wise as to why things have been good and or bad, you know, for what it was he was doing. He started, kind of like Gamers Nexus has, with, like, really focusing on making sure it's good. But then the casual and, like, hey, you know, bro, it's not, like, you know, such good results, but, like, hey, we're not like that, you know what I mean? And I go, but he has labs. With people that have degrees who definitely know, or at least should know, what the hell they're doing. And then it's like they see the recordings, they see how he reacts and acts in the shoots. And so there's a change of expectation as to what's acceptable and not acceptable, or appropriate and not appropriate, in terms of how much effort and how much consistency, and as a result, how good and replicatable and accurate those results really are. Alright, on top of, I really want to know if there's a management issue going on with that side too, to make sure, alongside of, once a recording has been done and edited has been done, editing, a first edit, rough draft is what you used to call that, but apparently it's like, it's not a rough draft, that's just what's going out immediately, is what I'm going to see from, you know, from the Gamers Nexus side. You know what I mean? It's like, where's that guy? And it's like, oh, wait, we put out a video though with AMD, with the 3D chip and blah blah, you know, and I'm like, so you care, so someone clearly was very passionate about this one and put forward the effort and stuck their neck out for this, but it didn't get translated into these other ones. And it's not all going to fall onto that person. You have to remember, there's many people there, all of whom have to have this idea that there's stress and anxiety, meaning like there's importance and it means something if it comes out like that. And they can have a lot of pushback and resistance to having this change. And so I went on this long winded, with myself, kind of ADHD style, seems like an aside, but it's analogous before I recorded this to this situation happening. Okay? It's like, alright, so we have the beginnings of the later Gen Xers, millennials, and the very oldest Gen Zers, and they might be on the MySpace, and other beginning social media like Gaia Online and so on, right? And it's like, but we went through change, like we grew up over the last couple of decades here with this changing, right? But if you've come to understand, as we're older now as an adult, we know that a lot of these companies are all owned by one, and then there's like, oh yes, they're not our competitors. No wait, no, they are our competitors. They're all owned by the big one, but like they're small, and they mean a difference and so on. And it's like, but they're established, they're not going to change. You know what I mean? Like they look like they're changing, but they're not changing. They look like they have growth and new things happening, but there isn't. They look like this can have a possible change occur, but there isn't, and there's not going to be. Same thing when it comes down to understanding how that comes about for us interpreting this belief, false as it might be now, that things haven't already become established and there's a chance for a change and growth in different ways. It's like our perspective got skewed because we went through something like that and we know it can be done. But just like our parents and our grandparents went through a similar situation where something happened, but it was stuck like this for an enormously long time. In fact, too long, until something finally happened and broke. See what I'm saying? And so it's like Gamers Nexus putting out this video here. It's like I'm on his side. Full tilt all the way on his side. I'm on his side. At the same time, I'm also like, oh, so as he went up, he got good at spinning. He took risks on the backpack and other things that he was selling. Moves with labs. Moves with his other business adventures and risks. Okay? And the conflict of interest of people that were already in the industry, which, I mean, you could talk for days probably about that. They call interconnected, or for others that are a little more crass, incestuous almost. To me, I go very low amounts of people to pull from that are seen as having the degrees gatekept, if they might be or not, because there are a lot of people that learned a lot and have a lot of experience about different systems, programs, and the inner workings of this stuff without having certain degrees. But they don't get talked about. You ever notice that? So, anyways, I'm going to move off of that because that's a whole other conversation. Clearly have old friends or work colleagues that they know in these companies, and then the bias that can come out of, I really do like this product, I really do think that this is good, so on, so on, so on. And so while the result might not be indicative of what my beliefs are, it doesn't change that, because the forward-facing person of the company, which is Linus, is this individual, who is very much Like, I worked hard. It's just like it's supposed to be casual. First off, it's not really like I don't manage everything, but also it's like I put my effort and hard work into this. I'm like an artist that's normal. You know what I mean? Like, this is me. You know, when you fucking say shit like that hurts. And then I'm also looking at Steve from Gamers Nexus going like, we used to be friends. I'm a tiny little fucking tiny guy company dude compared to that. And it's like, yeah, I guess we're friends, I suppose. You know, but there's like a whole already entourage enabling sort of style of something happening with LTT where he's able to act like this and is getting away with saying certain things and acting certain things, like certain things, and editing and allowing for things to come out. And so there's already an established momentum and precedent, which means it keeps getting enabled for the pipeline of output of videos. And even though there is obviously going to be a person there that's checking, it doesn't change that it's like they can't check every. I mean, that's a lot of videos. Not to mention, it's like, oh, well, actually, we would take days probably before we put something out after we had already gone through and then talked to people, did some reshoots. We had our first impression, and then we were like, oh, we came back in instead of having asterisk corrections and all of this. And it's like, yes, I get the editor has to re-edit, but it's like, not too significantly. Like, you already have this edited, and so it's like you can get rid of some of this part. It's like we all make mistakes, like David did, where he didn't see the feet, you know, still being taped up. You know what I mean? It's like that's, but it's like this established precedent that we can't back down from having done this. We have to do this like spin move and then defend because it's like I don't know if Linus has ADHD. I truthfully I wouldn't doubt many of them in that company do. No offense to the company, but and it's not a bad thing to have it. But like that's a rejection sensitivity dysphoria style response, where it's like you're very significantly and they don't even know, and then like I had to defend myself and spin all these like terrible comments. That's not criticism. Fuck that criticism is nicely worded with like perspective and reasons and helpful, like, you know, maybe you could do this instead and so on. That's just being a dick. But like he also, just like with ADHD and others, hey, you know, it still comes from this place where it's like they're trying to get across this. And for what it's worth, I live and die, sycophant or not, which I'm sure he'll probably think like that. Well, I feel that he would be like that, but it doesn't mean that he is. Of course, you have to remember my perspectives and opinions of this individual I see but do not know. There's no parasocial relationship. It's just stuff that I've seen with myself and many others in my life throughout my life have similar situations, reactions, and ultimately actions go on for various drama or things happen in their life. Because it's like he's this charismatic personality right now that has a whole hell of a lot, and like everything's on him, lots of pressure, right? But it's like, whoa. Hey, if they're a person like myself in that company, in his company, LTT, it's like, well, I see this already. Like, I'm already seeing this thing already. Like, there is nothing I can do here. You know what I mean? Like, he like, this guy can get away with a lot. You know, like, that, you know, it's like, not to mention, he's being helped to be able to do that. Or, like, it's already seen as if this was the way it's supposed to be done, I guess. Because, like, he didn't put in, or others aren't putting in, this time and effort to do that. And then no one's going to really be able to say anything to the guy. And it's not just him that's making the video schedule and how that comes. Like, that's a whole, you know, probably top management at that point group effort that talks. And while he is a face, like he is that guy, and it also comes up with creative ideas and so on, it doesn't change that he doesn't control that. He doesn't know all of these things that are going on. He doesn't in any way really run a lot of those parts of this company. That's not on him, but then it is sort of on him. You know what I mean? Because it's like they're also a part. And so, well, you can try and make an effort, because I'm sure there are people like Gamers Nexus here also that want to do that work, or very much on the side where I would be and he would be, I assume, or at least perceive him to be from these hey, we got to talk about this videos, where this would look bad, terribly bad, on me as an employee if I wanted to get hired somewhere else. Like, I'm now stuck in with this person, which might not be the best way to put it, but it's still what it is, because it's like, why didn't you change this? Why didn't you say, oh, no, I can't because I'm not supposed to say anything. But, like, for what it's worth, there was effort to try and change. But it's like, it's like, you know what I mean? And it's like, no, I did, and I do, and I am. You know what I mean? Like, that reflects poorly on their character. Not to mention the company's PR right now is not good. Like, he's getting away with a lot, because it's like that canon event when it's like a celebrity, artist, singer, actor, something like that, right? Where it's like, oh, they got big, and then in their dressing room or whatever, like they're kind of a jerk, but like generally speaking, they're not like mean or whatever, right? But like the quality started going down, and other goings on behind the scenes showcased a lack of consideration for what they were putting out, and also the people involved in that situation, right? And so it's like, I'm on Steve's side. There's nothing they can do. Like, again, it's like, I'm an employee. I have, rent, mortgage, car, food, electricity, water. Shit's expensive. Not to mention, whoever they is for management, or that you'd go to try and like resolve one of these issues or another, might not see it as big of a deal, or might ultimately take that as you're going against what we're doing. Like that immediate thought, right? It's just like, ooh, uh-oh, I'm about to get my ass blacklisted. Like, I'm probably not going to get fired for anything, but it's like, all of a sudden the clicky things start happening, where it's like, I'm not as in many videos if I was going to be in videos, or I don't get to be a participant in any of these things, so on and so forth. And it's like, oh, they'll do like an Abby from Dance Moms, or it's like, no, I'll give you that solo as Abby, like, oh, I'm not really giving you favoritism, but they'll still know that you're giving favoritism. You know what I mean? And so it's like, right, same thing. It's like, oh, look, no, I'm still helping. You're still getting, and it's not that bad, But it's like, no. No, I know what that is. I know what you're really doing there. Like, what's going on. There's no way. Right? And so, same sort of situation where it becomes unfair. There has now become a resistive pressure to ultimately conform to what's currently going on. And even though there's outside pressure and even some internal pressure to try and alter policy and change the direction of how various video and content is produced and put out, okay, and company back and forth, like, that's so important. If I'm a company now, this would have rocked my shit. Like, think of Nvidia or AMD, who's gonna go like they don't even test anything that we have correctly. This is literally just bad advertising. I don't want them to even have any of this. But like they're so big, at least eyes on, may be good if they, whatever, right? And then in Noctua, which I see this one, where it's like, ooh, while it's close to thermal throttling, the product is still good. It's still like got a good reputation for consistently being robust, meaning reliable. It doesn't break down, and it will still cool it pretty darn well. You know what I mean? But it's like, oh, because that wasn't. Ooh, wait, it didn't do as well. Maybe they need to change this or do that or whatever. Suddenly became for Noctua another side on their end. Like same thing with like an Nvidia or AMD or Intel. It's like, oh, well, it in this one was good, and like while it's morally and ethically and truthfully going to bite them in the ass later, it's the equivalent of like, well, because it helped me here, it's okay, and so I'll allow it. But it's like, uh-oh, that's bad, because I had an old friend online back in the day that, and this is back in my Battlefield 3 days when I used to play Battlefield 3, and it was running rampant with cheaters constantly. All right, and they didn't really have a way to police it or get rid of them. You know what I mean? Like, they were just getting through too easily, that kind of thing. And I got so fed up because I had gone through like several lobbies already with them just wrecking me, and I had to. And then it's like next thing you know, my friends don't want to play. I don't really have other games. I don't have the ability to buy other games. I couldn't tell my friends at the time, but it was like, I really don't function the way you do. Like, I barely have the ability to like go outside sometimes. My depression's so high. All this is so high. This is my only real form of social interaction. I can't really even like imagine myself working without like freaking out and disassociating and having days where I don't do anything. Which is like intense, right, for most people to go and talk about, especially since like they're just video game fans, whatever, right? So it's like there's that. But she got on my case for like saying that, well, as long as they're on my side though, it's fine. Like fuck it. Like I'm tired as long as, because I was just fucking I'm done. Like I'm first off I'm done. I want to play. I want to just freaking play. And I want to win for once. Fucking damn it. You know what I mean? And then I realized while she was going after me on that, rightfully so by the way, in every way, I took it. She left. She didn't talk to me for a while. There's other stuff with that. But, like, I took it to heart. It didn't seem like it, but I did. Like, I just refused to play with anyone that was cheating. Like, it was genuinely that bad. It was like they were right. She was right. She was right. There were other people that liked how good I was at playing at the time that were talking to me. Like, why are you still playing? Blah, 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 blah. And I'd say that. And I realized I was influencing them to be accepting of bullshit behavior, unfair, not okay, all this stuff. On top of, I myself don't accept this. And regardless of my thoughts or feelings of the time and what was going on, it didn't change my thought and perspective in that moment, because I also knew in that moment I didn't in any way think like that. I was just saying it because it's like I'm fed up and I just want to fucking finish the game and I just want to have a win. That's all it was. But I stopped playing that. I stopped doing it. Like, it was like that fucking obvious. It was like, you know what, you're right. Fucking, they're right. She was right. It's like, this is stupid. I'm not doing that. Fuck that. I'm not accepting this. I'm not. I'm not going to accept that. So I'd back out. You know what I mean? It's like, fuck it. You just show her that I would be like that. It's like the moment something, I'd follow her. You know what I mean? It's like, there you go. No, I'm done. Yeah, I'm done. Fuck it. I'm done with that love. You know, there's one in there. Fuck it. You know what? Like, I'm done. I'm out. I'm out. Like, I'm over it. You know what I mean? It's like, I don't want to be around that toxicity. I don't want to be continuing on with that. I don't want to be doing any of this shit. And I certainly don't want to enable it. It's done. I'm out. And while that's a personal anecdote of mine, anecdote, it doesn't change that it's like that person helped me tremendously. And it wasn't even the first time, because I also had this braggadocio behavior when I wanted to play, to like put on like a character kind of person, to be like, I'm fucking great, and I just hype myself up and shit, and trying to have fun throughout the night, sort of thing. And I realized it was coming across in a way that was not what I intended, as like a funny, like just whatever, just fucking around. Instead, it was like, oh, you're trying to present yourself and you're trying to flirt or something with me, and it's like, actually, no. No offense to you, but I know that you have your own life and shit. So it was like, oh, yeah, no, that's not what I was intending at all. I was just trying to be funny. I was just trying to be like a cocky, trash talker kind of thing. And it came across just straight up not that. Right? And it's like, that's what this is for me. It's like, oh, first off, I'm doubling, tripling, however many down that I have to just weather the storm and put out the same thing, right? On top of, I have this persona now that I'm like this, and I am this public face, and I can't back down from this crowd, because, oh, by the way, this crowd will eat the shit out of me, my family, and oh, even the company too, alive. I've put out this shit where we're so fucking great, $100 million damn dollars valuation, which isn't really a valuation, but it was an offer, right? But it's like, that's like Steve right now. It's like, we were within the same ballpark for a while, and like, we used to be friends, regardless of, oh, you're so great or whatever. I know you're still a real person there. I know that you've done all these things. I know you do have this stuff going on. But it doesn't change that in every way I'm right. And oh, by the way, also, what happened? You're allowing for bullshit. You're absolutely allowing for cheating, lying, BS, which isn't really like the same kind of, but it's like equivalent-ish similar. You know what I mean? It's not really equivalent, but it's like, but it will mean a lot. Like, people, even if you say it's not a review, treat it like it's a review. It means a big deal, just like he was saying. And then it's like, only 3 hours? 3 hours later, he starts doing that? He sees it, gets upset, has to fucking, I'm stoking myself up, all up on there, because it's kind of like a terminally online, but it's not terminally online. You see what I mean? Like, that's a incorrect way of phrasing things, because you don't know what's really happening. You didn't take into the account of the full picture that's happening. It's like, this guy is the face. What it means is like, he has everything land on him, when in reality, he's not the whole fucking picture. But also, what's being shown off and everything is that it does, and he is. Right? And it's kind of fair, because it's like, he's a part of it. He's a big part of that. It doesn't change that part. Like, he's still a big part of that. Like, for what it's worth, that means he's a big part of that. He might not be the CEO, but it's like, because of a lot of this, because of this doubling down, because of like that defensive part that was allowed to happen and not like, yeah, okay. I was about to say some shit that's just not actually, and I'm gonna regret it later, most likely. Like, honestly, I'm gonna regret that later. It's like, cause it's like, I know in writing that I am 100% not being honest. These are not my real feelings. These are not like my real, like, how I want to phrase that. And in fact, I know that there's an element of truth and all the rest of that goes with it. And then it's like, oh, now you see how companies become like this. Like a CEO from YouTube, like, and suddenly is like, don't you, like, you won't exist without me. Yes, we don't exist without you, but same. Toxic, negative, I don't play favorites. Oh, I definitely play favorites because that's what our main revenue is. And then, oh, there's like this, allowed virality of an idea, and then, ooh, we'll just keep it going higher, higher. But it's like, actually, we should tone that back and maybe, this is probably a good idea to do it this way or do this instead. Or, oh no, we should never because such and bad, which ended up being more like a, actually, we should probably do that. We should probably make that go, and these are the reasons, and this is actually how, and, stuff like that, because it's like, that's a good thing to do, and it's like, while YouTube, you have to remember, was a startup. They're huge now, but they were a startup. They were nothing. They were not acquired by Google. They were literally a startup. They were not big at all. They were in the flex state. They were in the wild, wild west, the, just chaotic nature of the beginning of where the internet is now. Which means that it's like, oh, they had a similar rise. They had a similar, and like that guy left. A lot of them are gone. And it's like that policy type. I need to make this type of money. I'm a corporation that needs that. And then like and all the, how does it happen? You're seeing it happen right now. You're seeing it happen right now. That's how that happens. That's how the resistance to like this, because it's like the crowd, oh, they wanted that, and then and then it's like, oh, that was bad, terrible. It's like, and then just being mean, even if there's some degree of element of truth in some of that meanness, okay, not all of it, in fact, a lot of it's not, right? And then, oh, I have my own life, I have a wife and kids, I'm also doing my own shit because I deserve that, yeah. And, oh, the company is the company. No one person oversees all of this stuff. And they all filter it. And so, just like standard telephone game stuff, and it's like the person that you're telling it to has this word language change. So that way they're not maybe so inclined to, I'm about to get hurt by you, like that kind of thing. It's like, I'm afraid that I'm gonna have this issue from you. So it's like they change their words, and it's like, oh yeah, okay, yeah, all right, that's, oh wait, and it's a little bit of yes man, yes woman, and that kind of thing, yes person stuff. You know what I mean? To, oh, I know that I can influence this because I phrased it like that, like your kid to you, or you to your parent, or you to your significant other or friend. And then you allow for certain things because you don't think it's that bad, but it's like, oh, wait a second, actually. And then it turns further into, it's like, oh, we have this 5-paragraph essay that I need to have for a script and no teleprompter? Like, no script for them? If they have that, it's like they're not reading it. So it's more, impersonal, more casual. It's less, right? like that's their brand, right? But it's like, oh wait, actually, that makes these mistakes, and you're gonna have to correct those if you want to do that, but you're not doing, because it's like that's the first rough draft, and then you didn't read that, and nobody worked on that because you're doing this other work. And so it's like, okay, you gotta take out time to schedule that, and then it's like these are the corrections, and then we're gonna make these shoots, and then we'll add that in, and you'll be a part of the editing process to a degree, with your thoughts on what should maybe be there, and then what you'd like to see, and so on, for suggestions. And then it's like you watch it again, and it's like, okay, so maybe this could be better, and maybe we could do this. And like then that comes out with a proper script that helps you, so that stay on task and make those corrections, or make that, as casual or professional, in between, as you have to make that proper. And then, oh, guess what? We're relying on XYZ department over there that we're not a part of, by the way. Labs? Are you kidding me? Like, they're the ones that know this, that, or whatever because they got the degrees and the experience, okay? Why aren't they doing it? Did somebody open the door? Is there an air conditioning? Is it not, like, somewhat, at least a little bit more control? Do they consistently do this, that, or something? What's going on? Like, what's happening here? Like, makes no sense. You pay him this amount of money, you expect that back. And I don't care if it was me, might not like the idea, but it's like they need management if they don't have management, or the correct management. It needs to change. Like, that sunk investment cost needs to pay back somehow. And right now, it's costing them their PR, validity, and seen moving forward, future-wise, belief of trust and willingness to be worked with. That's millions. That's millions over time. And not in time. Like, it's in a short period of time we're talking about. That could be a few months, and it will have wrecked, and it will take so long to get it back. Those slip-ups mean a great deal in an industry as fast and as moving as this is. It's massive. As such, I would be not online to decide if I was in that company at all. And I'm on Gamers Exercise so freaking hard in every way. It's like, no, this will wreck your company. I have got to go over, get this sorted. I should have known about this. I need to change the way I do this now, instead of just casually coming in and blah, 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 and then done. Oh, guess what? I let my professionalism, I let my, work that I used to put in no longer be there. I atrophied. I lost what it is I should have been doing and had been doing that made it so I was successful just disappear almost completely. You know what I mean? Like, of course I put in that work. Of course you don't see this, that, or something else. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not going to see that. But at the same time, neither is anyone else. Neither is literally anyone else. I don't care if you want to be defensive about this thing that people can't see. It means nothing. That's where, like, the old business people would say, you cannot get personal in business. That's where it's like they are correct about that, but not correct about these things. And it's like, as an artist type of thing, content creator, so on, that like this falls on me, I'm this, and that's, that sort of thing. Where it's like it's personally attacking me because it's me, and it's not. It's like they are going to on this side, but you have the knowledge that this is there and these things are there, and this now needs to be talked about and discussed and changed. And it cannot be in a I don't trust or I fear or so on way as if everybody's toxic and negative and bad and so on. It's like we cannot have this hurt ourselves. This is a business. We gotta let shit go. And we have got to make sure that we make the appropriate changes moving forward to be the correct casual professional together hybrid and the correct changes to how it is we have our video pipeline go through, our videos set up, our videos edited, people listen to about things happening or being a certain way, and have that interconnected process of people collaborating together to put out a positive, good video, which I'm sure they do, but it's not coming across. It's either not happening enough because they have too many that they have to do all the damn time, or there's a given amount of consideration to speed that is not appropriate. That they view that effort and that work as if it would not be worthwhile to do. Regardless of cost or time, it costs them more long term. This is the problem I see with other companies, and we all know about it, as a, hey, climate stuff, by the way, change happens. Yeah, it's going on. Like, yes, I know there's money that you have to do to change stuff, but it freaking pays back itself so much. It's over time, but like in every way you get all of that back and more, in many, many ways. There's not just health. There's not just, your life longevity. There's not just the amount of reduction of costs for production of things. There's also the infrastructure itself taking less money and time to repair. All of which is analogous to your PR, your quality, and your return on investment for the risk you make, for the money you make over time. Literally, my issue right now, it's like Gamer's Nexus, while he's not maybe seeing it the way I am, but he is basically stating this. While I saw this happening, again, I'm a plebeian nobody, but I'm not in any way. I am their crowd. I matter quite a bit, even if it's one person, because I'm a lurker that, generally speaking, is a part of that crowd that sees things. That's a big part. We start leaving, others will start to leave too, and then it'll create the negative feedback loop because there's less and the algorithm dies. You get recommended less, you get less interactions, less comments, less shares, so on. Gamers Nexus is fully on point. While I can understand the defensive to degrees, I'm not him. I don't know his feelings. And he can say it's not, but it comes across that way. I can tell you they'll probably defend, if they were to hear this like this, pretty vigorously their quality checks, the people that are in those management positions, the different departments going on, the people that try to have their voice raised and believe it's something that would be heard and valid as something important to be there for these videos and content coming out. But right now it's not coming across that way. Right now, the only thing that's coming across is the opposite of that is going on. Right now, that's all there is happening. And Steve reaching out And really kind of the only public way he could, because it's not like he can really get a hold of, 'cause there's so many departments, who do I, you know what I mean? I'm just a regular dude, just like anyone else, even you. But it's still that thing where it's like, you are a company. Like, you are no longer small business. You are still small business, but you're not at Gamers Nexus. You're not like any of the other creators on YouTube, which even Gamers Nexus looks huge compared to, that don't get recognized, don't get fed in that algorithm, are jonesing for anything on that side to really help them out. But, hey, they never think about the fact that it's like all of a sudden I have to put out the right content. All of a sudden I have to keep feeding that algorithm. All of a sudden I have to keep making that type of editing schedule. I might have my own life. I have all this stuff happening. It's great. You'd want it. You'd love that in that moment when you're fucking desperate for it. And it's good for what it's worth, but it's also bad for what it's worth. Because it's like, oh yeah, no, it's better to have it than not, and then take the issues later. But it's the same thing where it's like big umbrella for all these little big corporation guy that runs all this stuff, right? Versus like them, where it's like these guys put out this stuff, and that influences that crowd, and they'll reach out and see what other little things might be there besides the big guys or medium guys or even small guys to the smaller guys. And it's like, you never know who's going to actually get something that hits on something that really works, but it won't be seen correctly because of the virality algorithm they have. Where it's like, only the things that immediately start a brush fire that kills an entire forest is allowable, basically. It's like, that's get pushed, more push. That's their algorithm. Regardless of tags, regardless of that's what it is. Keep shoving it. Everybody's liking this. Go. At least in terms of some of it. Not all across the board, I get it. But still, and it's like the too big to fail process in the head starts to occur. Like the Goldman Sachs, or if we want to get really technical, take a look at 2008 and the housing market crash. It's like, ooh. Yeah, they are too big to fail until it gets really bad, and then it all needs to be saved by other people. They're the money. That view time is the money. There's a set amount of freaking view time that you can get. A set amount of views that will likely be there on any given day throughout all months of the year. And of course, you want to hit that as much as you can. And always have something, because people are always trying to consume somewhere at some point. Break, lunch, absent-mindedly while doing other things, whatever it is. But it doesn't change that it's like, it will 100% mean a lot. Every time. Because the people that really are interested will no longer be there. The people that barely look or listen or interact will slowly become bored. Will slowly move on to something else. Will no longer trust. Will no longer interact. Will no longer really stick around. Regardless of whether or not there was a person during LTX that tried to set it aside and have a conversation. Regardless if there are other people like Steve from Gamers Nexus that go, this needs to be like this and we need to do this. There are, for sure, already negative pipelines and setups for the programming that is the machine of this company. Which I get you don't like the idea of machine pipelines talked in lingo like that, because that's so corpo. So let's change it into something else. The various collaboratory networks of like-minded individual groups that run various aspects of this wonderful group effort to produce this amazing, artistic, awesome creation that is this collection of people. It has a few incorrectly performing groups and individuals that are reducing the quality of output. And there's obviously hurt. And for what it's worth, totally valid. It's gonna hurt. It hurts to fucking get talked to about things that you might even know aren't running so perfectly and correctly. It's totally valid. And it's totally valid to feel this helplessness, even as a person really high up, possibly, versus like the people internally and externally that watch, where everything's falling on deaf ears or certain people's shoulders, and you're expected to do a little too damn much as a singular person in this situation. It's not Steve that's bad for simply obvious statement here. This is clearly super obvious. Okay, just letting everybody know, I'm not the only one that sees it, right? Like, this is going on. We see this happening. Like, that's all that is. You know what I mean? It's like, and the way you responded, wow, I don't like that. And hey, you remember I'm not nearly as big as you, and so, while I'm probably going to be just fine, screw you. Just a little. It's not going to be stated that way, but it's like, obviously, right? Like, that's mean. It's like you're starting to understand. If you're Steve Nicholas, maybe he didn't have this perspective, maybe whatever, right? But both of them, hopefully, actually, truthfully, both of these people involved, like all the people here involved in this, looking from these creators that will take various YouTube videos and play them while they react to them, and they can be really small creators that are like, 100 views at most, and that's huge for them, are going to react to that, and it's like, oh, thanks, dicks. Nobody's really going to watch because they all watch you. I'm going to get whatever that is in terms of possible views or hate or whatever. You didn't care. And the possibility of me no longer getting as many views as I once was, and the slight, still rising up, got destroyed because algorithm be like that, yo. And on all of the sides here, none of you are doing anything dramatically transformative in many aspects. Transformative is such a very vague term to me because, and I've stated it earlier in one of my other earlier long podcast videos, it could be as simple as you inserted one graphic or your own face. It's now changed. And I know that's BS as an artist, that's not anything at all, and how could you like that? Is what I view it as. It's a bunch of bickering people. Meanwhile, I'm looking at the poor individual that's either getting shit on or hyped up or whatever, having to just be like, well, the big titans want to talk about me, and I'm basically like a scared little baby just getting kicked and tossed around. I hope I don't get fucked up because of this. You know? And then I get recommended in my YouTube feed about a bunch of these people having that very same issue with people that are either negative and toxic and are trying to like shit on them, and they have to have a response video to that, but they don't actually get more views, and they kind of just get like, I don't really want to do this anymore because what can I do? What can I do about that? Nothing. Nothing at all. And they're already established, and there's favoritism, and it wouldn't matter if I put out the best shit, you know, but it's not being pessimistic, unfortunately. It's being realistic about that. That's a realistic interpretation of what's going on. Because their views, their feelings are valid. Which is to showcase and say it means something, it changes and influences their behavior and decisions moving forward, on top of what the crowd may or may not do, and all the hard work and effort they put into that channel and the passion that they had is suddenly massively removed because nobody thinks about it. There's always go, 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 go. And then either, ooh, yeah, to, oh, I don't give a fuck. And all of a sudden it's canned to, oh, there's a lot of pressure starts, and then it's like, oh, I can't capitalize because life is still life. I still have job, family, whatever, right? I can't just drop it and then try and like, because the grind mindset that's so toxic in this culture going on, like it's super bad. Like that's grind culture, toxic behavior. Like you just gotta grind. It's like some people cannot do that at all. I'm one of those people. I cannot put together an edited video like others. I can't grind. Like I can barely do what I do now, where I'll just one shot this shit, and then I'll slap a fucking, like I Google search something, hopefully not copywritten or protected, whatever, image, and then just here you go. You know what I mean? Because it's like the only difference between me taking that, if it's like freaking some mathematic equation, is I wrote it on a piece of paper, took a picture. What's the difference? Why would they give a shit? You know what I mean? It's like, what is this? Versus like, well, this is a series of circles. I would love to credit it, but Google didn't have the person who created the thing, and it's not like I have a chance in hell of reaching out to this person to be able to. Who's gonna fucking give a shit about me? You know what I mean? So I want to move on from that because, like, again, it's a gray area that I'm touching on. And it bothers me because it's like I have no ability to produce any of this shit at all. I don't have the computer, and I really can barely put in the effort to get out of my bed most days these days. And so right now, me going over this whole tech drama situation, which we all knew would happen eventually. You couldn't possibly believe it wouldn't eventually happen. You know what I mean? Like, there's no way I can at all believe that. Like, did you really think it'd all be hunky-dory, perfect forever? Okay, sure. Someone's eventually going to succumb to the like fame bug, the growing pains of like having an established situation that may not have properly understood what was going on and what was necessary to change without ultimately having their feelings taken in to the business aspect, because it's business now, that needs to be there, so that way the crowd, as much as we love pandering, as much as we love to like do whatever for patronization, even have the websites for it, we still have to understand that the crowd needs comfort and needs to really, if we're being honest, be seen as nothing more than a very, very difficult to work with, immature, a little psychopathic, a little sociopathic, narcissistic to a degree too, better than you, knows everything, overconfident, all that stuff crowd, child, or adult, because they're both the same at that point with how it is they respond, react, comment, and so on. That still needs, because in that crowd that didn't comment and it was mean and so on and so forth with views, retention, like, dislike, stuff, to have the people that do give a shit are there for legitimate reasons that want to learn or want to figure out what the hell to do, to have the information that's correct, consistent, accurate, and precise enough that they can then gauge what to do moving forward. To me, it's like you are a bad mentor slash teacher slash parent right now that's believing they're putting in the right amount of work, but they're not. Which is rough. Okay? It's going to influence other people. That drama that they're willing to stick around for views, they see it as if it's acceptable. Like me with the fucking hacker cheater on Battlefield 3, same thing. With the XQC to like Ethan Klein's H3H3, or in this instance, hey, look, man, I'm Gamers Nexus here, Steve, and I'm definitely seeing some of these issues, and we need to talk about this. And I'm not an intervention, I'm not gonna like whatever, but like these are some clear problems that are coming up a lot and are really showcasing that this, while you might not think it's as big of a deal as it is really actually a pretty big deal. And it means and matters a great deal long term, short term, and medium term. All the terms. There is nothing that's there. This will be something that is good in terms of that. This will be something later on, because I have to go back to finish that sentence and come back to this one to finish this sentence. So great. That isn't something that you, probably like a Philip DeFranco, go and say, if you look at some of my earlier content, this is pretty obvious what I was doing. I was clickbaiting. I was obviously trying to cash in on certain people, and like I was basically being a react video, content whore to try and get up there. And I was being a little bit of too much of a bro dude, like that kind of thing. And it's like showcasing and showing off itself with Linus right now. Like Linus is currently showing that off. And you can see it with the other hosts that host with him in videos and certain other hosts that are hosting their videos. And it rubs off. And like you can get pretty far with that. Obviously Trump did. Joe Rogan has. Others have. That are similar even on the Democrat side. But you don't trust them for everything. They're like a spectacle. They're an entertainment that you like to look at but not really care too much, except for the people that got hooked in, and then you worry about the fact that it's like, that motherfucker believes that. It isn't just like watching something kind of stupid go down, but like, there's some good there, whatever, and takes it for like that. Instead, it's like they're in that camp now, and that's dangerous. Okay? And so I wanted to talk about that because it's like, if he reacted within that 3 hour window, he didn't try and understand where it might come from as like a friend to a friend, or like, hey, you used to be able to really put out this, and I still believe you can. And truthfully, I don't see anything that's you're like a bad person at all. But like, these are some serious problems. These are real problems that are bad. You know, you wouldn't go as a reviewer, or let's put it this way: you bought something, Amazon, Walmart, wherever the hell you bought it, doesn't matter. You expected this product, like the Mr. Beast situation for the burgers thing, and you got what is the equivalent of not that in any real way. It is way lower quality, and it fucking breaks. You know what I mean? And like, it's like, well, it did the thing, sure, I guess. But that's not what I bought. That's not what I wanted. That was lying almost completely straight up. You know what I mean? And then, oh, not just lying, but it's like, oh, but the product was bad. Not just like, oh, it was a little lower quality or whatever, it didn't look quite the, it was like, which is more than I can talk about with the Mr. Beast thing, because it's like, well, it's still technically not killing you food, but then still, yeah, all of that I would be on Mr. Beast's side, even though I'm usually against like corporations, big things, so on. You know, especially I feel like nobody calls out, you know, larger people in general these days, and have it be seen for what it is, where it's like it's serious and it needs to be different. And he's like stepping up to the plate himself, which I like, and putting that down. And it's like, that's great. You know what I mean? That's a good thing. But as for this situation, it's like, oh, yeah, no, I ordered this fidget, you know, cube thing, okay? You know what I mean? It's like some knockoff, but it's like it's supposed to do, and it's like, yeah, the same thing, right? But it's like, oh, it's a thin, I bend it, it broke, it doesn't work. It's like, what is this? None of this did anything that it really, honestly speaking, was supposed to do. It required itself to do. And, oh, by the way, it did work kind of, sort of, and then it stopped. You know what I mean? And another one is like a really seemingly all there together bike. You got it from Walmart. It's something you're enjoying or whatever. The bearings go bad. The chain fucking sucks. It starts binding, falls off. The freaking bike tires are so thin and the tubes are so bad that they just immediately start freaking popping on anything. There's supposed to be a spring system on this. It doesn't hold anybody's weight. You don't know what's wrong. You know what I mean? It's like, oh yeah, no, it looks like it's all there, but it's not. You know, it's really too cheap of a quality. Looks like it's good enough, but actually you have to do a whole hell of a lot of work to repair, fix, and then ultimately change to put good parts on this thing to make it a worthwhile bike. At that point, you spent more than if you just bought the freaking bike that way in the first place. And that's what I'm getting right now with a lot of what the content is that's coming out because of, with Latest Tech Tips, because of the amount of effort and time I will have to spend going over all of these other things for Gamers Nexus, you know, MKBHD, any like Tom's Hardware, Fudzilla, Reddit, you know, anything that I can get my hand, because it's like that was not trustworthy. You can't trust that. I mean, you're going to ultimately take into consideration. Sure, absolutely. And yes, you will. Generally speaking, if you're a person like myself, not everybody does this, so it's like you have to understand that right off the bat. Even if you should, doesn't mean anything. go to multiple sources to check to see the quality control, good, bad, longevity, uh, other, plus or minus variability of the product itself, you know, for what you're going to try and buy with your hard-earned damn money. Anyways, it calls to a greater and greater degree of problems that propagate outwards in a massive way. You know what I mean? It's not just this one little thing and it stays there. It showcases all these other things that it will bleed into, and people believing that that's an acceptable enough, and like and then like this is and that, and whether or not something can get better with a company and change and grow and showcase like what most do, just like what Linus is doing, or at least did in the beginning, where it's like I take that constructive criticism into account and then I try and put forth something better to refine it so that way it's more like what you guys want and we're all happier. You know what I mean? The win-win-win, good, better, best sort of stuff. Corporate lingo speak. Because like I can talk to this type of thing for way too long. But it's like it's sort of a similar situation if I were to try and direct this at gamers next to Steve. It's like, hey, I can barely, just my thoughts and interpretations, put out the videos I do now because of the amount of time and effort that I want, but I get them out. They're right. They look good. They are good. They're right. And I like that. And I like that content. Every time I do. I have not really had a bad experience with Gamers Nexus. Okay? But I'm sure that he would like to do like a Linus Tech Tips where it's like I want to put out other types of content. Or maybe I'm missing a market that I can't see because I'm so focused in on what I'm doing right now. And it's like he might have a creator friend that's coming up. He might have, someone else in his life that would love to tell him that, but like I'm a small little dude and I can't do nothing. And it's like kind of a similar thing again to the Linus, and he might get defensive and you don't and it's like, ooh, uh-oh. No, it's just maybe, It's like, hey, it's like maybe it's nothing of that, and it's just like this is what you want to do. And that's fine. You have to remember that part. You have to remember that part. There's nothing wrong with doing what you want to do. It's your stuff. But just like what he's saying to LTT, it's a similar situation where it's like, oh right, you want to do that, but it might be hurting you these ways. And you might be okay with that, but maybe you get something that you like more, that you're way more okay with. You know what I mean? And I can't speak on Gamers Nexus having that same thing, but the reason why I have that click off in my head is because he's done factory tours that I feel are amazingly put together, and it feels as though he might want to do some of these other types of content, and he's kind of slightly hinted at some of that stuff. And looking at an LTT and what's gone on with him, can I trust an editor? Can I trust delegation? Am I able to like put forward that? I'm scared. I don't want to do that. I don't want to have that issue. You know what I mean? I don't, am I going to be able to understand that that's what that was? It was like a good thing, and it was just like, hey, and like, that's probably not good, you know what I mean? Versus like, as like a response, am I gonna be like that? Am I gonna be like that? Where it's also so freaking far now, like growing, that I have very difficult times because I'm not this big thing that's there, that this is what we are, dictatorship. This is it. Am I going to be able to listen to it if I was? Because I have that level of power? It's like, yeah, remember, people all have doubts and insecurities in themselves. We all do. No one, I shouldn't say no one, but a lot of us that are like myself. So maybe that's where it's projected onto to see. Maybe he doesn't have any of this. Maybe that, no, that, maybe that's just, honestly, fully out left field. That's not even a thing in my mind. It's not even, I don't care. Like, just like with LTT. No, I care tremendously. That's not what it's, stuff like, maybe like that. Yeah, again, this is all my perception from what's being put out and what's being seen and how the reactions are and so on from a singular individual that watches this. That might not comment very much. If at all. I still watch the videos as long as I can, but I don't comment. And I rarely put forward myself out like this. So it's like, alright, well, here we go. Me, I'd be afraid. I know that. Of course I would be. Of course I don't want someone to be able to take advantage of me. Of course I don't want somebody to be able to have that power and influence and control over what it is that I have coming out. I'm that person. I'm a control freak. I'm a bit of a perfectionist, even though it doesn't look like it. I don't like this idea of someone that I might not, because I have not learned enough about them over enough time to fully be able to appreciate and trust and know some of the nuances of what will and or will not maybe occur during these situations, this type of content, stuff like this. And of course you have to take the risk. I understand that, and I want to. But it's like, it's a hard one to take. And people maybe don't understand why I'm so cautious about it, because of course I'm a person that's had it cause me problems in the past. Not so much with content, but, things in my life that I shared. And it being a big, big issue. And so it's not just about the trust, so that's part of it. It's also about the understanding of what's appropriate and acceptable with what I would prefer to have come out. And once you get to a certain point, like LTT, you can't do that. You have to delegate and put all of that onto others. You have to trust that. You have to trust it's running correctly. You have to put in that level of like, it's not my problem. And you hear it in their videos being said. The reason why he's saying that is because that is going on in his mind already. Those feelings have already happened. Those thoughts, either out loud or internally, are already there. And to understand that subtle little thing where it's like flippant, blasé, I don't really care, it's because, oh God, I'm literally not able to do anything, and I took the plunge and I have to just do it. I got nothing. I can't do nothing. It's this now. Hope it works. And it's like, oh, this problem. I took the plunge. I have to do the I'm going to remove my mind from this that I was afraid of, and it turned out I was right. For I need to have my company survive. I need to defend this that I view all is basically kind of me in my decisions. You see what I mean? That's where I'm perceiving this as. That's what I'm seeing this as. Like, this big thing is me. And it's like, whoa, 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 whoa. It's not. This is a whole bunch of other motherfuckers. That's not on you, bro. It's not on you that you hired them. Hey, 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 hey. They do the manipulative lie game to be hired. They put forward that time of I'm gonna look, act, and be cool and nice to fucking stick around. It's the equivalent of boyfriend, girlfriend, significant other. Ooh, yeah, no, you know, love bomb, sudden abuse, negative toxicity. Oh, but you know, love bomb, blah, blah. And the cycle starts. It's not really quite the equivalent, but it's like similar ish. You know what I mean? It's like you have to believe in intention in that instance, but it's like it's not hard to fucking kind of know intention to a degree. You know what I mean? Like it's not stupendously difficult. All right, it's like you can see a pattern of behavior as long as you focus a little bit on it. You can see whether intentional or not, pattern of behavior exists now. Then word choice, verbiage, body language, you know, and then how the talks and so on between others around and situating of themselves versus or with has become, ooh, this is intentional. Decision making allows for intentional knowledge to be there. From this, you can absolutely, with a high degree of accuracy, understand that's intentional. As such, it's not on you that these, or you, or whoever, the situation is the situation. Understand it can be changed and controlled and grown and adapted and helped to no longer have that issue going on. It might take time. It might take apologies. It might take, you know, showcasing, hey, I've changed, and that's okay. That is fine. Learning that people can make mistakes and knowing that not only can they make mistakes, but it's fucking normal to. And on top of, oh, I make mistake, but also not only did I just make a mistake, I reacted poorly. And there are a lot of reasons for that. And while that sucks and it definitely affects you a lot, and it really shouldn't have, it doesn't change that moving forward, not only do I accept this and acknowledge this, I want to make sure I don't have this mistake occur again. All I'm looking for is for you, whoever it is, to allow for me to do this and then help me to see, not bombard my ass with constant negative shit, which that never helps. Because, oh, I'm going to immediately change to be perfect. Ooh. But it's like, no, but seeing constant effort put in over time is what we're talking about. You see what I'm saying? And then it's like no longer happening, but you can be weary. You don't have to trust. You don't have to let us back in. You don't have to do any of that. But at the same time, I have and had already changed or started the process of changing. See what I'm saying? It's like, yeah, I get you. I get you. Guilt, shame, whatever, I don't need it to be there for me to acknowledge and recognize I made mistakes and I did things poorly. That doesn't help me, and constantly shoving in my face isn't going to fucking make it any easier or better. And I don't need to feel bad. Okay? I don't need to feel bad about that. Do you get why I say that though? Because people believe the only way you'll change is if you feel bad. And you need to always remember, it's big, tough, strong person, hero complex in movie TV. That's what that is. Just so you know, that's what this is right now. It's, oh, I have to tell the crowd that I really am, and act like that for them. They have to believe. I don't have to do nothing. That's not there. I don't have to care about that. It's okay to accept that responsibility. It's okay to also acknowledge and allow for that negative emotion to be there in that moment, to allow for you to understand why, how, and so on. But you don't need to keep going on and on and on to showcase that you understood. That's a way of the quote unquote had been abused individual taking advantage of quote unquote abuser, which is not the case. You're not. You're not the abuser. You're a person that's like anyone else. You don't do perfect. Nobody's perfect. You're never going to be perfect. You're going to make mistakes. You're going to say things wrong. You're going to stop doing that to yourselves. Stop it. It's okay. Accept the feeling that you don't want to have to feel bad about this and just acknowledge and, you want to take responsibility and move forward. And they don't have to fucking like you or treat you any better or worse. But it's like you don't have to take that abuse from them now. You get what I'm saying? You don't have to allow them to consistently keep poking. They're the abuser bully now. They're not doing anything better. They're doing nothing. They just, oh, I'm better than you now. Remember this, remember this. You're an abusive bully. We get it. Deal with it. You have insecurity. You want to fuck with someone that you feel is better or above you somehow. That abuse power, unfair, whatever it was, in life, in yourself, whatever. But I don't need to accept that. No one does. And then you don't need to retaliate. You see what I'm saying? Don't retaliate, because it's only going to back and forth, toxic, negative, abuse, all that, argument, bullshit. Cut it off. Leave it the hell alone. They can keep going on, but it doesn't change anything. And it's like, you're not that, you're like this is happening, these are the goods that I've changed, these are the bads that I've changed, this is the growth that you see in anyone throughout their life, and the mistakes that happen for anything, for all people. Look at the ones that think so perfect with glass house throwing rock. Look at them, flinging mud come out their assholes and mouth. See what I'm saying? Now, Steve isn't doing that to you. LTT, of course not. None of that's happening. The reason why I brought it up is because that is what will occur as a result of bringing up something publicly, which is definitely necessary. First off, it showcases that Steve is trying to help a friend. And then it showcases that he is ultimately someone that cares about what he is putting out, just like you, but also cares about what you're putting out, so that way it's not something that may be impacting both of you negatively. That's what that is. The crowd is a bunch of dum-dums. The crowd is a bunch of nincompoops. That's what they are. Like I stated earlier, sociopathic, psychopathic, narcissistic traits, having both the good and the bad within. Rush to judgment, defensive, easily you're this, that, or something else, discredit, put down, don't listen, I am now greater and better, holier than thou. Hero, oh, I was so, but actually now I'm like, and so on and so forth. They have the same standard play that all celebrities and politicians seem to have. None of them are much different, except for the ones that lurk, don't react much, and I like to think a little bit. I like to weigh things because it's important to them and how it is they perceive the world around them. Give it a thought. Give it a chance. Try not to defend immediately. Try not to fanboy, fangirl, fan person. Try and see it from as many perspectives as they can, really realistically. And try and understand it doesn't come from one, it comes from many. The situation in what you are seeing. There are many things, traumas, insecurities, thoughts, beliefs, so on, that made the person you talk to in front of you or around you in your life today. It is not so cut, dry, and simple. You have to put forth work that you find difficult to do and is difficult to acknowledge and allow and be aware that it is not only just valid, but means a significant amount. And if they do it, same thing will occur with them internally. They will have to do that to themselves. It will eventually occur. They can never, forever keep it out of that to themselves. You see what I'm saying? It's like that overthinking. You're overthinking all of your stuff. No. You're processing your emotions. You're figuring out your triggers. You're seeing that people are seeing this and where it might come from. That's not overthinking. That's being a decent person to yourself and others. Caring, acknowledging, having self-awareness. Sometimes it's a good thing. Sometimes you shouldn't have to. Really, you don't need to. You just don't do that. Like, you still have to understand that you, if you tightly try and monitor and control all things you are, you're not being you. That's not your real self. That's not your genuine you. That's a mask. You're masking even inside, internally. You see what I'm saying? You're not allowing your feelings. You're not allowing your genuine self. You're not allowing you. You're trying to, because they'll think this. And so I have to make it like this for myself. You know what I mean? Or that. All inside. Because you worry too much about that. Other side. You worry too much about me. To me. What is myself wanting me to be? Oh no, I could never allow myself to be this. And it's like, what do you know? You were and are. You do have those dark thoughts. You do have these feelings. You do have that shit that makes you want to do that or this or say this stuff or feel these ways. Ooh, so terrible. How many fucking people that have, I don't know, apparently non-normative cis values, which apparently the right side hates to say, having to go through, I'm a fucking valid, good person. I don't give a shit. You know what I mean? It's like, fuck you. I'm allowed to like that. Fuck you. I'm allowed to like whatever the fuck I want. Think whatever. Now it can eventually turn into something else, but you get what I'm saying. Hopefully, where it comes from, hopefully, and that it's not supposed to go too far, and you allow too many things like the hacker cheater. And something that is devaluing you and your worth / perception, perceive, all that. You have your integrity, dignity. You have what you are putting out as you, your personality, yourself. And it comes from other things. There could be many things going on, even if it perceives with the crowd over here itself to be you're low effort, don't care. That's not the case. A lot of the time, It's irrelevant what they think too, which is what I'm trying to tell you. They don't know, they don't care to learn, they don't care to think, they don't care to do any of that. They're a bunch of grumpy little idiots that only have initial reactions. They don't really care much at all. They only want to see this and that alone. They don't want to do that work. They don't want to think. They don't want to change their mind, opinion, perceptions, anything. They want to be right, confident, all that pandered and so on, comfortable crap. They were not taught about this like I was in therapy and did it consistently when I was younger and then fell out and then continued it again and then had my own issues with my family and so on and so forth with others after. They did not do this. They are not taught this. This is not something going on in their family life. This is not something going on in their school life. This is not what at all is going on. Which should be. It should be normal. They should understand it. This is something that important. But they're not. They aren't. They don't. And they think it's irrelevant. Not valid. Unreasonable. Too much work. No worth or value. And they'll think anyone that thinks like me is the same. And again, insecurity crop up. It crops up again. You are worthless. You are valueless. It's not worth it. It means nothing. What you say means nothing. And the problem is they're like a Gordon Gecko. Or Greco or whatever. You see what I'm saying? That's what they are. They are very much a whiny, crybaby little bitch boy or girl. The vast majority of them acting like this, that know that they can get you to fawn response over their ass, to give them what they want. That genuinely want you to act perfectly their way, but have a personality, an impossible task, somehow. They think this is not. Don't see it as a psychopathic, sociopathic, narcissistic trait. And understand, in no way it appears like, how the hell that makes the very things they complain about exist everywhere around them. In their laws, their corporations, their own view and interpretation of others to themselves. And themselves to themselves. With invalidation, insecurity, and so on internally. And must seek out ways of making this thing that I am about my identity and now having value, worth, and validation. The productivity capitalistic plus also wealth in this and only this way, value in society only this type, and why challenging it bothers them so significantly. The reason why I discussed all this, sorry, but the perception for LTT here is very similar. It's extraordinarily similar. The reactions, the efforts to ultimately downplay, enable the continuation, so downplay what happened and enable the continuation of what's already going on. Defend too much, too hard, making almost idiotic, irrelevant semantical statements. On top of using that crowd that knows damn well what you're probably doing. Like, yeah, no, I'm going to go back for this. I'm a fan person. It's right. It's not semantics. It wasn't sold. You are bunch of irrelevant shit. It's the same nitpicking, impossible to live up to at all, can do no wrong garbage that you see with your terrible, abusive parents and friends. They always have a stick up their ass, and unless it's with this, and so on and so forth, and you start to gravitate that way. That's why we call it the fan person. The echo chamber validation crowd within sight of certain internet bubble cultures. That's why it's, I am the Jesus Messiah of my tribe, that is the big person of this whole community. I have risen up to be mine and a part of with me. Shit. You can't change, can you? You pander into that, eh? But you probably don't think like that. You probably do think these things. You probably are aware of this. You probably do know. You probably do want to change. You probably do. Ooh. So let's see how much of that is going on. With the word choices, the retaliatory defensive remarks and statements, the then on top of it amount of time not taken, then the crowd going, well, you took too much time, it's too clinical of a response, you can't, it's all just a lie, you don't really have any feelings like that, it's all just crocodile tears, you aren't gonna change, blah blah blah, so on and so forth. And it's the same thing for abusive, toxic relationship. Didn't know. You think they could have, or they should have, but stuck in this way, easy to allow for, so on, so on, so on, until, you realize they wanted to change, they need to get away, that person's not going to care, you're never going to get them back, and that's acceptable, and you're just going to have to let it go. And now you do you better than before, and that's fine. It's A-okay. That person could exist, they'll go somewhere else, and they'll fuck with other people. Focusing on them, literally, that. It's that. Get out of here. No. It's that, like even with a little hand, I'm just like lightly brushing it aside, like a little twitch, a little, you know what I mean? Like, get out of here. I don't care. It means nothing. They'll never mean anything. They'll never care. They'll never validate. They'll never fucking accept that you changed, prove. Don't do that. No longer are like this. And in fact, you weren't like that to begin with. That they don't want to accept that all these other things are going on. That it wasn't an act and this is your real self because, what do you know? A bunch of rhetoric. A bunch of constant grooming between friends. Only when you're drunk do you have your real self come out. Nuh-uh. Your real self is... the filter kind of got let loose, and that's actually not what I wanted to say. Truthfully, that was the first, and then really it's not. Actually, this is really what I like to say instead of that. But no. Same thing. You got power. This is who you really are. No, it's not. You have no idea what's going on there. It's not. You see what I'm saying? Some, maybe. That's what they work for. But a lot more are not that fucking far small percentage of extreme psychopath, sociopath, narcissist, all that. You know what I mean? With that level of intelligence to try and manipulate all the way up to that point. There's a lot of enabling. There's a lot of bad things. There's a lot of shit. You don't want to accept that? Doesn't matter. You don't have to. I don't have to convince you. I never will, never do. You've decided this. You're irrelevant. Your voice means nothing. Your opinion is nothing. You have become a black and white. You have become, I can never, ever be okay or good or anything. Regardless of showcasing changes and better progress over time, and different actions and choices in how I speak towards others, put out content, or so on. You are projecting your abuse and your perceived slights and the grudges and petty, passive-aggressive insecurity and all the rest behaviors and so on onto this person and justifying and rationalizing that abuse that you say you are not, but you are. You are now the one that needs to change and grow. That's it. There's always a learning and grace period. You can't go back. You gotta catch yourself if you are. You gotta acknowledge it. New people might be there and not notice what the old do and remember and are worried. You call that PR all you dang well please. But it's a lot more significant than I just need to tell them in a pandering, placating, patronizing, sycophant, obsequious way what they want to hear, so that way they put a little trust back in. It's not PR. It's understanding it's an individual level thing. And every one of them needs to take a responsibility. It's the whole fucking shebang. And you can't force all of that to happen. You can't. You gotta monitor it every step of the way and get rid of what you can and try and put something new in. It's like any other fucking friend group where there's a toxic one and they need to leave. Okay? They gotta get fired. They have to. They gotta be let go of somehow, some damn way. It's bad for business. They're gonna ruin everything. It's not personal. Don't make it personal. Gotta remove it. Things are now going to get better. Don't allow anything that accepts that shit. You can't. And that's why I talked about that, because that's the fear. Hey, knock, 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 in that brain, on your skull. Hey, me. If anyone out there hears this, if they ever freaking hear this, guess what? Not your fault. It's growing pains. It takes time and effort. It's a new type of work that you have to do that's every bit as valid as anything else. Not just with yourself, but with the people that you let in. And it's extraordinarily important, so fuck whatever else tries to tell you it's not and you're being too rough or hard. It's going to mean a big deal later on. You can't accept that, hey, they need to grow and learn. Hey. Yeah, no, they're adults working for you. Shush. Don't give them leeway. Don't allow for abuse. It's not your job to fucking teach or train them. You're not a therapist. You're not that fucking teacher. You're not anything like that that can do that. Do not put that onto yourself. Do not take on their work that they need to do. Get rid of them. It is not your job. You are not their parent. You are their employer. This is professional, I don't care friendship. Outside, fine. But no to this. It's important. That level of important. That's how important that shit is. And even in your real life, which you have to count that too, but outside of that part, you should be doing that. It's that much of a big deal. Never allow for that behavior. You can't. I mean it. You cannot. People slip up, make mistakes. Okay, call. Like, hey, was this, benefit of doubt. But it's like, how long until that next stretch when they do it again? If they're really having these issues, it's like, whoa. Like, when you get that worked out, you can come back. All right, but no. You can't. No contact. Don't talk. All right? Don't. When I feel ready to reach out, that's when we'll talk. You lost my trust. You lost me. And you might not care right now, and it might mean nothing, and that's acceptable. Fine. Whatever. But I don't need that in my life. You need to leave. You're not allowed in it anymore. Ever. Until I reach out, and hopefully you're not going to do that stupid song and dance like when you hire someone that's trying to be all nice and make a good impression. And then be your real self. Because you think I'm going to allow for that. Because that's your real self when you're around me. Because you think you can get away with it. Which is not allowed. Get out of here. Simple as that. You've got to do it. Toxicity makes more. Negativity makes more. It grows and extends into other things you do. You have a harder time thinking that work isn't as big of a deal and is worth the effort. It then grows into others. People take favoritism. People will not place the importance of certain things as they should into decisions, content, and production, and so on in your fucking company. Alongside of your family and your friend group. You will treat yourself worse because, yeah, that's right. What's the big deal? It's a big fucking deal. Don't accept shit into your fucking very important life, by the way. Don't do it. Fuck that shit. Fuck that. It will cause you to have those negative thoughts and emotions again. Fuck that. That's not worth it. They're not worth it. It doesn't offer you anything. Get the hell out of here. And they can go, you're the one that's not worth it. You're the one that's the bad person. You're the one you don't see. It was you. You are never ever taking their responsibility, never ever realizing that they also have a part and role that was played. You can acknowledge yours and take responsibility and all the rest of it. You should never accept theirs. Do not do that. You can't. They are not allowed or acceptable to ever justify that anger and emotion to be allowed to abuse you now. Or ultimately have this effect over the rest of everyone else that causes you to allow for negative to yourself or others, or a worse quality of effort or output. Fuck them, fuck that. My family is this, I'm trying to cut them out. They'll be that fucking person. You don't know this, and you act like blah 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 blah, bringing up shit in the past, not even taking anything over. It's like it doesn't matter. It's gone, over. You don't think about this now. You don't think about like they'll just fucking keep doing it. It will never allow itself, that situation that they create, for them to have to fucking take their responsibility and change. They set that up for themselves. I ain't about that life. I changed then. I know you probably aren't a person like myself with my family and my life situation that happened. But now you're in the thick of it like it is. For one person that's trying to get out still, to you, who is now there, hey, this is what's going on. You don't think it is, it is. You don't see it as significant or as similar or even the same. You don't think it's going to impact it or even matter. It all does, all will, and it is. It means a lot, and it's going to cost every freaking one of you something. And you're going to do the standard thing all of our brains do to try to survive and adapt. I'll look at the good, try to just minimize some of that bad, and accept, and then, maybe I'll, give some excuses and reasons, and it was, and allow. No. Don't do it. You're giving into something that's not going to change, and it's going to keep doing it. Don't do that for yourself, and don't do it for anyone else to you. Ever. I have more than enough people in my life that did that shit to me, and why I don't have friends is because same problem. Oh, and honeymoon period's over. Here comes the toxicity. They think I'm an easy mark. Toss them out. Don't even give a shit. Sure, I'm lonely. Sure, I have issues, but doesn't mean that I'm gonna fucking allow that to stick around. I'm better in all ways. I would have had my life worse if I did. Same thing with whatever the hell might have been going on in that damn Chandler house with hackers, which are still happening to be there. I don't care if you think they're not. They're there. It's not hard to fucking see them for what it's worth. They make literal usernames on multiple sites that are genuinely I can't imagine how much more brazen you could get with it, where it's obviously there. That's exactly the thing I said to make your username. What do you know? It's there. Yeah, what do you know? What do you know? That's what they are. They're there. Yeah, no. Oh, no, we're not. Ooh, bullshit. It's I can't do anything. They're harassing you, right? Yeah, that totally means a whole hell of a lot. That's another toxic crowd I can't get rid of. I could fucking change my phone, get different internet. They'd still get in. I don't know what the fuck it is about me that fucking pisses some of them off, but they always stuck around. And that's the problem I'm having with them. So it's I can't get out of that. Oh, I just now need to never be online. It's Off, just never go online. Fuck you. It's our place. Get out of here. Why don't you just leave? Bro, can't. Same thing in, oh, why don't you just go outside? Touch grass or something. With what income? With what transportation? Where? In the fucking area I have? You don't give a fuck about that, though. You use every excuse in the grind, pull yourself up, bootstrap mentality in the book to invalidate that. And think it's an excuse, or he has every reason, and it's like none of their, and I'm getting sick and tired of him saying, and it's like, if the situation hasn't changed and the reasons are still there, it's still valid, and they didn't just disappear, and it didn't get better. But that's what they'll do. They'll wait, and they'll be like, see, he didn't do any progress. See, he's not doing anything. Preying upon the anger and the, ooh, I'm gonna be angry at you instead of, oh, look at all this stuff that I can't change, I'm helpless, and like, actually, I could probably maybe do this, but no. Justifying and rationalizing their helpless anger and so on about these other things that they also have problems with towards a person that's showing off that it is there, like the homeless population, that they don't get impacted by it, but it's always in the back of their mind that they use to create that fear and stress and paranoia about them suddenly being homeless. Stop reminding me! That's what they do. They prey upon your shit. And they do it to themselves. It's a continuation of the same abuse from the past. They don't even know it's that. They don't even know why that initial thought and reaction is there. It's not always intentional, and they thought, ooh, maybe I could fuck with them. It's because they received that same treatment, and then they do it to others. Monkey see, monkey do, acceptable abusive behavior not seen as abusive. That is my entire perception. It still calls to the same thing that they would probably do as a last-ditch, hurrah, abusive continuation effect of defense on the double down, however many downs there are, to try and go, no excuse, to any perception of anything like the crowd they're pandering to, and have started to become themselves quite similar to rationalize and justify them doing what they do and are doing. You could have done, you slight nitpicky, impossible standards, entirely insane, and you know, to achieve. You know it can't be done. But it's, oh, I gave it that, and then, yeah, that means they didn't meet it, and I can be allowed and valid for my anger and hatred and harm of this person and abuse of them, because I know that that wouldn't be acceptable without that. Because I have already accepted that if it's like this, because people in my life were like that, and used that same reason to go after these other people. And they might accept something. But by then it's probably a little too late if you ask me. Unless they lose everything, and they have to rebuild and accept some of the issue and responsibility because nobody's going to do a yes man and so on to them. Yeah, a little high voice. You're going to end up having to get fucked over by your own self because you're going to have to turn on to yourself because you can no longer turn on to anything else but yourself. You can't redirect, you can't spin, you can't do anything. Anger turns inward. And the over perfectionism cannot make mistakes. Everything wrong, but not as bad as them. And they're really bad, and it's allowed, and so on starts to happen more and more. And the path has been set. Unless you have a good person in your life to help curve that off, or you yourself are like me, where I never fucking wanted to be like that. That was my biggest fear. It's still a big fear of mine. It's never gone away. I've been paranoid about that all the time. Always. That's my big issue. I never want to be like my fucking family. I never want to be like the fucking crowd. I never want to be like politicians. I never want to be like any of these fuck faces that I constantly saw doing this from when I was a child. It was always disgusting, terrible, shitty shit. They looked weird, odd, bad, negative. All the... what is that? How can you like this? It doesn't matter if they got money. Look at that. They said this, they do that. This just... You like this? That's acceptable? Ugh. Literally that. Now, I don't say it like that in my head, but those are my feelings. I'm afraid of that. I'm afraid of this. I'm afraid of this thing. I'm afraid this is good? How? Look at them. We know the stories in video and TV. They're fucking crying. We know that they're hurt. Why is that okay? You know that what that means. You know. That's what that means. You know it meant that this kid over here decided to do this. We know about the copycat killers. We know about the fucking shame, blame, oh, I'm not big, I'm not good, I'm not this, I'm not that, validation, worth, esteem, confidence problem that we all get. Leading to mash, boom, 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 shootings, and boom, bombs, and all the stabs, all the manifestos. We know all about how society turns a blind eye to their problems and their influence on these problems. They complain and have issues, want it to be about the gun. Nothing is going to stop. If they want to hurt something, they will try. Stabbings are all up in the United Kingdom. They didn't suddenly just get rid of this problem that they have. It didn't go away. Why do you like that? Why do you accept that trash and garbage? Why is that okay? Why do you not accept your responsibility? Why are you... And then I got older. The incredulous, the insanity I felt, the genuine anger and disbelief and frustration became something I was clear on because they need it for themselves if they're ever in that situation. They need it for themselves. They will do that. I saw my mother do it. I saw my father do it. I saw my older sister do it. I saw my younger sister do it. I saw my fucking teachers do it. I saw people in my school do it. I saw so many people do it. We're going to turn a blind eye to that and accept that mistake. But it's not a mistake and they'll do it again. They need that because they want to do it themselves if they ever get the chance. Or believe that's the only way that they can go through that if it were to happen, if they ever got to a point where they're in power. That they could get through it and not have the harm and problems of others and the social ostracization and the pain they feel internally when they see the empathy, sympathy, this person go through such a, oh no, bad social situation. I learned, I saw it. I was never really a part of a lot of friend groups. I got a lot of time to observe a lot of people. It was always kind of weird to me, apparently not to others. Never really accepted or felt that way because family really pounded into me I'm a shitty person. It took a long time to get over that. Because I didn't act like them. I didn't accept that. And I called them out. And I told them my feelings. And eventually I learned to shut the fuck up about my feelings and my thoughts and my opinions and my perceptions and what I think is okay and not okay and so on and so forth. That's why. That's going on with your corporation and company. That's why you're afraid, if you are afraid, anyone out there, or Gamers Nexus or anything that might be trying to grow. That's where it comes from. Because you're like me. You're a normal person that doesn't want to be that shitty person. You're a normal person, just like them, that is the considered shitty person. A lot of them, at least. And you also understand it's so ridiculously easy to give in and just do that instead. That's the fear. There's other things that go inside of that fear, meaning how it came about, where it was perceived, so on and so on. If you have it, there's other things and there's other interpretations and perceptions. You gotta understand that. Not everybody's the same. I'm not trying to fucking make it only out to be this way. It's just very much a consistent that I've seen, not just with myself, but others when I've gone through therapy, when I've gone and talked to others. There's a lot of this there. It exists in many, many, many countries, many people, but it's a part, most likely. You might not have seen that part, maybe you saw other parts. Doesn't matter. We're getting off topic. Just understand that's what's going on, that risk that you don't want to take. That fear is very valid. That justified and very rational terror of yourself in this future where something may be like this. And having to give it out, give up, not out, control. Trying to let go and let be this. Trying to understand that there is no right you could ever do. You are always wrong for the vast majority of these fuckers who will be upset for any damn reason. They are not your family. There's no parasocial. There's no nothing. You're you, doing you. That anger and resentment that you didn't do this is unjustified, irrational, and they know it. And multiples of them coming together because there's that bell curve who fucking shit on you and try and do things and make up stories and so on, they're always going to be there. The bullies, the idiots, the obvious narcissists, sociopaths, trolls, so on, so on. aren't going to go away. When you are ready and you put in the work, try and put in that effort, try and take on that, whatever it is. It doesn't even have to be extra videos or anything. It doesn't have to be. It's like whatever it is in your life. This works in many, many different avenues. It's not just online. It's not just in real. There's lots. Don't be afraid to marry this person. Don't be afraid to have that kid. Don't be afraid to do this. Don't be afraid. In such a way that it allows you to no longer be happy and live the fullest, most genuine, authentic life in you can live. Everything else out there sucks most of the time. Only a few people will ever maybe understand what I'm talking about without having this defensive garbage come up. And rationalization if we have to put this down. Somehow, some way. They want control. They want authority. They want to keep that. They don't want to allow for their fear to not control them. They don't want to work through their mental, internal struggles. They don't want to see a different side and perspective. They don't want to change. They don't want to hope. They don't want to, take a risk. They don't want anything other than what they are and say to be the good, like they perceive you to be doing. Can do no wrong, so on. They are jealous, but there is some not so jealous. A lot of them don't have a lot in their life, and it doesn't allow for them to do this to you. And if they do, even less acceptable. Doesn't I do? Okay, even worse then. You're even worse. How is that fine? Oh, I got one on you. No, you didn't. You didn't do nothing. And it doesn't change that some of them are really just looking to pick a fight. Doesn't even have to be a reason. They know that they can say shit like this to you because they have that ability to see that. They're a really shitty, narcissistic, sociopathic, psychopathic person that just wants to fuck with you. That's all that is. They'll have any damn excuse. They'll glomp on to heroes, quote unquote, good guys, quote unquote, to fucking be allowed to do it. They're covert in a lot of ways, yeah. It doesn't matter. Don't let them and the fear of them and who you, which by the way you can do the work before them to try, and while you're doing it to try, and after to give yourself time to process and try and do better to prevent and change and alter that course of that individual you perceive to maybe be a thing to no longer be there. You can put forth your effort. You can live a better life towards that goal and be happier that you tried than if you didn't. There's no rationalization there. There's no any of that. It's not rationalization, bro, that they'll tell you. See that little voice, the niggly voice? You're trying to rationalize because you're this terrible person, blah, 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 blah. You see that? You see that fucker right there in the head? Others treat you like that. Might just be connected some bullshit thing. Could be a lot. But the point is that feeling, that thought, that focus and attention, that's abusive. You're not going to do that. You're not that perception of someone else. Someone else perceives you, doesn't matter. I just got done telling you about this. You can absolutely put some work in, and yeah, it might take you a while. And you might end up changing your opinion about that being something that you want to do, or something that you'll do it this way, or whatever. The point still remains. Being afraid and not putting it into the little priority and starting up the process is what's making you depressed and angry. It's what's making you afraid. It's what's stopping you from growing, getting better, and changing. It's not black and white. It's not very gray either. It's a rainbow of colors. That is not a flat little 2D bell curve. It's many strung together above and below and all around perceptions of many things about one given thing. No one has the right answer. You have your answer. Hopefully it's the best one you could have come up with. Just try your best. Stop letting that do that. Seriously. Stop letting that fucker win. Stop letting that shit win. Stop letting them, whoever they are, win. Fuck that. Whatever your perception or thoughts about me are, screw that. This is still good advice. It doesn't change that part. Still good advice. Good advice? Yeah. Hey, look at this. It's still a cell phone that works very well. I might not like any of them, but it's still a good cell phone. I might not like that, but this does work. Or I might not like that product, but these people are good people. It works in all ways. Still the case. Don't have your perception of another color any more than it should what it is being said. It's a great piece of advice I've gotten many times in my life, and I never understood what it meant until I got to a point in my life where I was homeless and around a lot of people that I didn't understand were being really discounted as much as what I believed to be a pessimistic side in the past, they were. Like, to put it in perspective, me going through psych ward after psych ward, outpatient after outpatient, medicine after medicine, therapist after therapist, homelessness, fucking shit, man. I realized my pessimistic side was not even anything other than optimistic. You're doing it to yourself on that one. You think that's pessimistic, it's not. They really are like that. They really do this. This is really going on. You're valid in that perception. All of it works together, unfortunately, very similar to this whole situation. Almost anyone can get away with anything, unfortunately. given the right situation, you are not terrible. Unless, you're intentionally doing certain things and you're continuing it and so on. I have my hard line there now. Just because you might have those traits doesn't mean that you can't ultimately do good and not be a person that's harming others unduly, or at least defending others appropriately. Okay? You want the discrediting of me because I'm not XYZ gatekeep experience thing? Because I accept certain things and view the world this way and see every bit of why they will act in my perception and see it happen time and time and time again. Same thing, different day. Throughout the online internet verse. Comments, videos, posts, ideas, rationalizations, excuses, explanations, justifications, allowed, appropriate, not allowed, inappropriate, taboo, not taboo. Time and time again. To not take good advice when it's staring you right in the fucking face all the time. The cognitive dissonance, the rational justification, bullshit that you're gonna have to not take the advice and allow for yourself to simply accept and take some responsibility for some of that shit and just take the L and I'm gonna grow. Fuck it, I'm gonna grow. You're right, I gotta do it. Ow. Shit, that hurts. I have to be the bad guy. Not a bad guy, you're not a bad guy. Gotta remember that. You're not. You did bad things, doesn't make you a bad guy. You might even have known better, doesn't make you a bad guy. Continuing, not accepting, allowing, helping, so on, bad guy. To evil person. Depending. Allow for advice to come in from places you might not like or accept. I didn't like or accept religion. They still have some good fucking thoughts and advice for what it's worth. I bring this up consistently, but blitzkrieg, certain tank warfare tactics learned in World War II or tried in World War II by Nazis were and still are considered valid as strategies. They're still terrible people. Not saying they're not. But a good strategy is still a good strategy. Especially when it's not like a terrible one in which just kills a whole bunch of civilians. Which I talked about this before I recorded this, but it's like you have to remember with videos and then product releases, there's a percentage, let's say out of 5,000 is 32, whatever percentage that is. And of that, there's a bell curve of those who lied, which could be pretty rare, to those that just had bad quality control, should have maybe somehow caught it, or shipping something we couldn't do, or they did something, that accidentally damaged it, but, right? Stuff like this. That's a casualty of warfare. Best strategy, you're still going to have problems, people are going to die. There's no such thing without, perfecting perfect knowledge of this person and then shunk, dead somehow. You're just not going to get that. You know what I mean? There's always a degree of loss. Well, most of the time, but it's a thing. Understanding that this video and so on That's not loss anymore. That's just kind of winging it, and a whole bunch of things aren't doing well. You know what I mean? And you would never accept that in warfare. That'd be the equivalent of, we're just gonna, the entire country, and we got the guys. You know what I mean? No, it's not that bad. Don't get me wrong. I'm being way over embellishing. It's not. Trust me. But like, you can tell that a mentality like that could then suddenly bring up. Well, it would be acceptable because you did though. You got the guy. You got all of them really, and now it's your. Right? Absolutely no. Not. Not right. See how quickly it can come up? See how many of you tried to argue possibly already? Rationalize and justify that? This might even be a funny little joke, haha, to some, but some it's serious. That little perception is not all what it is. That collateral is not fully taken into account. While even if in minority here we're talking about, it should still be seen as something important that you take into consideration. I'm not saying you can't accept that you're going to make mistakes and you're not going to have it be perfect. There's no such thing. But when you allow for yourself to just give up, don't do it anymore. Don't do it anymore. And it's calling to the whole, are you giving up? Growing, changing, accepting, taking that risk, maybe doing this, changing, doing these things instead, helping the whole thing out? You're going to have to take those serious, hard questions into consideration. They're hard because that means you have to accept responsibility. I ask myself pretty often if I'm doing that. My shit didn't just suddenly disappear. I'm always like, oh, I'm in a good day today. Oh, all of a sudden that wasn't, maybe it wasn't as bad as oh, wait, yeah, no, wait, you've done this before. You've done it, that didn't go away. You know that. You didn't suddenly get better just because you're having a good day or week or even a month. Stop it. Didn't suddenly mean you can work and do any of these other things. It's not going to suddenly happen. Get rid of their abusive, invalidating crap that you're giving to yourself. Remember, that's still there. You gotta fight it every fucking time. Their narcissistic garbage abuse is terrible, and it'll stick around until you can fully extract that little parasite out of your brain. The little fucker finally is out. But you still have to ask yourself that question every so often. You're gonna have to put in that effort and acknowledge, hey, shit, you're right, me. Fuck. Damn it. You fucker. Yeah, oh, I'm the fucker, eh? No, you're not, I love me. I know. So when are we doing this? Yeah, let's get the thing going. And I've done that so many times to myself. It's a thing. I do it because it's constant. You have to. You always have to do it. You never get to be comfortable too long, seems like. But you gotta allow yourself to be comfortable and heal. And allow for that to not hurt and be, ooh, bad. And there's nothing there. And I gotta attack and I gotta take a break. I gotta think about this and process. There's something there, like I know. Maybe this, maybe that, maybe You know, am I allowing myself to be influenced? You know, like they're right about that or this or like I did it with my family when I was a kid and a teen and a young adult. It's like despite everything, they're not stupid. They were right about shit. They know things. They had elements of truth. It doesn't matter if it's a shitty scream, all this thing. It's still something that is something that should be considered by you. It doesn't change that. The Nazi parent family thing doesn't change that. It's like, well, those are some good strategies, actually. I should probably, work on that. Honestly speaking, this is not a bad idea for what it's worth. That is good advice. Like, they're not wrong. That is a thing. Doesn't change that. You know what I mean? It's analogous, not similar, not same. It's analogous. Metaphor. It's not that. It's understanding even your worst enemy, critic, and all that. They can hide in there because they're smart enough. An element of truth that you should honestly take into consideration and disregard their garbage shit that they are and what they act like and what they say and everything else. But this part's still a thing. Yeah, it sucks. Yeah, whatever. You're still terrible. You're still all that blah blah blah. But this is okay. Thanks. I'll do that. Doesn't change that part. They don't suddenly get anything other than, oh yeah, no, that is. But everything else is still terrible and you're wrong and you're bad for all these things, which, again, immediate, I'm wrong, I'm not a therapist. They're still evil, shitty, terrible, abusive people. Toxic and negative, all these things. Fuck them. Still good advice, still good suggestion, so on. See what I'm saying? You have to also weigh that advice and suggestion with yourself internally, what's going on with you, what you know. Don't allow for their dumbass influential bullshit that says, oh, you're not trying, you're not doing this, blah, blah, blah. And I know about all this stuff in my life that's going on that they're not taking into consideration or even caring about. And what does this for them do to benefit them? This one is the worst one. I mean this. They know damn well that they're trying to influence you to be more likely to do something that makes them receive something they want. Doesn't change that it might be a good thing for you, but that's also a part of it. And do you feel as though that is acceptable to allow for them to have that win that they shouldn't have, possibly? Are you going to let that power and control of hate over them? In some cases, it's going to come back on you, and you have to take that into consideration. Other times, it's not. You just fucking leave it alone. And other times, you'll do it a different way because, oh, that's a thing, but then I know what that, and then like I could do it these ways, and that's a good advice to do, but that helped me see this, and so I didn't do that, but I did this, which ultimately did that I wanted. And you didn't get that win. Which ultimately means you probably didn't have this whole, ooh, cloak, told you so, blah, blah, I am blah, 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 blah. They're fucking shit. And that's the crowd to you taking that risk and viewing yourself one way or another. And then now you understand that side a little bit more as to in relation to you and whether or not they'll accept it or not. See? That's the end of this. That's why it's long. I hope it ever gets. I hope somehow, some way, it'll eventually get to Gamers Nexus and Latest Tech Tips and all the rest. Because a lot of people need this kind of a fucking conversation and advice and perception and a take and opinion on something like this. Because it can be related to many parts and aspects of many things going on in our lives and around us every day. Alright, bye!